And I think that's also kind of this psychological issue with this UAP issue where we might not be the apex predator. We may be that mountain lion, and
Yes.
And we're going to have to be comfortable knowing that we're going to be vulnerable. There's people far superior that may have malevolent intentions, maybe not, I don't know. And almost be humbled the fact that, like, sorry, we're not the smartest of God's creation. And that might be really hard for a lot of people to process. And I think that's probably certainly, I would imagine, one of the deliberations they must have done years ago. We're like, oh, we can't disclose because, people are not going to feel comfortable in that worldview.
100%. And they're not. And then I wonder if these things that we're experiencing are the natural progression of what happens when you do seed life on planet, or you do accelerate biological life. You do have some sort of a genetic intervention where you take this thing that it has emerging intelligence and you accelerate it. And that thing will in turn, with all of its desire for innovation and creativity, and also all of its desire to control resources and have power and have influence, that it will eventually lead to the creation of what we're seeing. That these things are the next stage of this process. And that maybe we're dealing with one form of that next stage, but there's another stage that's 1,000,000 years more advanced than that, that's far superior, that doesn't even have a biological limitation in terms of physical space, that it exists completely in some other undetectable realm. That is no longer thinks about biological limitations of life and death and communication. It exists completely in some other space. That's what these things are. And then I always wonder, when there's a crash or when there's a body or when there's a this and that, like, and people saying, well, why, if they're so advanced, why are they crashing? Well, hold on. Which version are we looking at? We're not saying there's one thing that's visiting us. If there's one thing that's visiting us and we know where this one thing is, we could say, oh, well, that thing, it deals with a completely different solar system that's not as vulnerable. It doesn't have asteroid clouds. It doesn't have all these different things where it's like, it doesn't have a planet that has super volcanoes. Maybe life evolved in a more stable environment and it allowed it to get to a far greater technological level, but not the ultimate.
Yeah, we might be testing the extent of their adaptability. And like I said, are they crashing by accident?
Right.
Mission failure, or on purpose?
Right.
So, and then of course with the far distances and everything, I mean, if they're traveling here through some kind of space-time metric engineering construct, the distances are not as vast as you think, right? They could be going through some kind of, traversable wormhole or something like that, where it's like a walk down the street for them. It's not, 1,000 light years.
Well, just think about communication. Communication used to be, you had to get in front of someone and you had to talk to them. So you had to know their language. You had to either nonverbal or verbal communication. You had to figure out a way to say things to them.
Yeah.
That's no longer the case. Obviously, with this new Android operating system, it translates, but also the fact that you could have a fucking FaceTime call with someone in Japan right now, and you instantaneously can communicate back and forth, which is insane.
That's a vast distance, but for us, it's like stupid. It's like easy.
Vast distance and
we're
instantaneous.
Tunneling.
Yeah. I mean, I was just in Scotland, and I was FaceTiming my daughter back home.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy. You're 9 hours by plane, and you're having instantaneous communication, which is wild shit. But that's fucking that's like Pong, that's Morse code. That's like, it's very primitive in terms of what if you physically can be in these places instantaneous.
Yeah.
And why would we assume that that's not eventually going to be on the menu?
Yeah, it's just like the conventional propulsion stuff. We're not using an Elon Musk Starship to get here. It's like they're doing something else.
You talked to someone from the 1800s and you said, you're going to go to Nevada? Jesus Christ. You know how far that is on a wagon?
That's months, man.
Right. But no, you fly to Vegas. It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's fucking easy. We know that now. So why would we assume that there's a limitation to that advancement? I don't think there is.
And of course, a friend of mine, Eric Weinstein, certainly espouses we don't even have the right theoretical frameworks right now. He,
Right.
You know, he has his own geometric unity theory, and
Yeah.
he's way smarter than I am.
He's too smart.
But
He's confusing.
yeah.
He starts talking, and you're like,
It's so
slow
funny.
down.
If he calls me, I'm like, you got to call me in the morning after my 24-ounce Monster Energy drink, or I can't even keep up, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
he's on another level. He has he's got some unique theories himself
Yeah.
about where all this stuff is coming from, and it's all very, very, very interesting and intriguing, but also makes sense. All of it makes sense, including being visited.